What is going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, and ahead of the big game on Thursday night, Eintracht Frankfurt against Tottenham in the second leg of the Europa League. A welcome to the channel to Brian Sanders from the Hey Eintracht Frankfurt podcast. Welcome, Brian. How are you doing?
You know, I'm doing pretty good in the Midwest of the United States. It's a lovely blue skied spring day, optimistic for the future for Eintracht. And yeah, just think things can be better, especially for first-time dad who is running on little sleep. So other than that, everything's perfect.
Well, congratulations, but hopefully, I'm hoping that Spurs can spoil your nice, warm and sunny day on Thursday. But Brian, after the first leg, were you surprised maybe with how the season have gone for Spurs, how the game went on Thursday?
Well, that's something that I always take with a grain of salt when it comes to the English clubs that are participating in Europe. And I've noticed this specifically when it comes to the teams who are perhaps participating in the Europa League and now the Europa Conference League. You can have a good European campaign whilst, have a good day, have a bad day. You just got to time it well. And I've noticed that a lot of the English teams have actually done not so bad. Take Leicester. They were able to go, to the semifinals of the Conference League whilst, barely surviving relegation. Chelsea is this season in their own campaign kind of been middling to disappointing the fans. Spurs have also had a tough go of it in the league whilst, hey, you're in the quarterfinals of a European competition, a competition that is the successor to the UEFA Cup, which Tottenham has a long and glorious history with. I'm not really all too surprised that Spurs as the players are probably going past that trophy cabinet and thinking, wow, there's a lot of this one type of trophy. Oh, wait, we're playing for that? Let's try and fix our season that way.
So what was the kind of reaction for the Frankfurt fans after that first leg in terms of getting that 1-1 draw? Probably was it seen as a good result, and how was the performance kind of reacted to?
Well, it's kind of a little bit of a mixed bag when it comes to that. What we have seen in the past with Eintracht Frankfurt, to kind of take it all into perspective, is when we won the Europa League in 2022, we actually finished in 12th in the Bundesliga. We just it's something that a lot of Bundesliga clubs have a difficulty, unless you're Bayern, honestly, where you just got distinctly a lot more money to play around with. You're able to have a deeper squad. All these teams, for the most part, trying to be very fiscally conservative. So squad depth isn't always going to be the greatest, even for the biggest of clubs. And Eintracht knows that, having a non-negative result in your away leg, that's good because, hey, you know what? Balancing the league in Europe is always a tough thing. We won at the weekend, so that really kind of gave us a huge boost. But looking specifically at last Thursday's result, getting the early goal right from the off, I was expecting that Eintracht would try and utilize the counterattack to, go right through Tottenham. And I've caught a little bit of the Premier League action that I've seen from Tottenham, and I kept on thinking, counterattack with speed, this could be fun. Now, we could have easily popped in, one or two more from opportunities that were available to us if you took them. But I was kind of feeling that the way that Eintracht played for about 70% of the match, it seemed very passive to me, kind of almost like they were trying to, hey, get a draw, just make sure that it's not a demoralizing defeat that we've had on previous European adventures away. And it's more of an acceptance that, hey, you know what? Let's take it to the big stadium. Let's take it to the Waldstadion, the true nickname of our stadium, and then let the atmosphere just drain the life away of your home opposition, because that's one thing that we have in our back pocket that most other Bundesliga clubs don't have, is a stadium that if you have the moment, it is a deafening sort of atmosphere that you guys do know from your own local derby between you guys and that other team that looks like a little pop gun for their emblem. So that's the mindset of Frankfurt fans, is like, all right, make sure it's not a negative result. come home, and then just wallop them the moment that they step foot on the hallowed ground that is the Deutsche Bank Park, as it's currently known for sponsorship reasons as.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've been to the stadium when Spurs last played there a couple of years back in the Champions League, and the atmosphere is definitely a sight to behold. And I saw as well back last week in the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, the Frankfurt fans were in there about an hour and a half, 2 hours before the game, didn't leave till about an hour and a half after, and literally just bouncing up and down, up and down, up and down, non-stop throughout the whole, like, was it about 4 or 5 hours? I just couldn't believe what I was seeing. And
it's all fun. It's like this is a little bit of vacation time that you got, so make the most of every second that you got. Even if you get pantsed, like 4 or 5-0, if you have fun with it. Football is an amazing thing that it doesn't have to be good to enjoy it. And that's the way that German fans as a whole really look at football, and the Eintracht fans are, they're about as passionate as they come. And if you allow us 30,000 tickets like Barcelona did, we will take every single one and fill the stadium out. Because, at the end of the day, when it comes to European matches, who doesn't want chairman to have all the money and then piss it away?
Yeah, I do look at that in terms of the way Germany as a whole kind of runs football. I look at it with a bit of envy, because I look at English fans compared to like German fans in terms of week in, week out, going in the Premier League and going in the Bundesliga. And they just seem to be worlds apart. English fans, it's just very corporate. It's very like kind of sing when you're winning kind of style. And Germany, I mean, every club has got a certain percentage of fan ownership, and they make it very easy for fans and very affordable for fans as well. And I feel it relates into the stands as well.
And you can drink beer while watching the game.
Drink beer by watching the game, yeah.
Full alcohol beer, I would also point out, to the point that it's cheap enough in there. You always put down the Euro deposit to be able to get your cup. You keep on coming back. You can stay in the stadium for an extra 2 hours after, and a lot of fans will, stay and sing for like 20, 30 minutes after the game, especially for wins. And then it's just like, what, do I want to leave? No, I'm hanging out with my friends here. Let's get another round. It's only like 3 or 4 euros. It's not that, it's not so bad. And then, if as a police officer told one of my friends when he was visiting the Waldstadion, he's like, excuse me, officer. And he's like, yeah. He's like, the line for the bathroom is really long. Is it okay if I pee on the fence? It's like, if you got to go. Then go back in there. Get yourself another pint.
In England, you're getting arrested for that.
No, they don't care. They don't even mind. I mean, they don't even mind if you happen to have a funny cigarette. Now, that is more affiliated with, say, St. Pauli, the Buccaneer club that's located in Hamburg. That's more affiliated with those guys. But, so long as you're not, like, putting your butt out on someone's head, they don't care. Enjoy yourself.
That's brilliant.
So ahead of the game on Thursday, what do you feel like the feeling is amongst Frankfurt fans in terms of the confidence they are that they will make it through on Thursday? Do you think everyone's believing that it's going to happen on Thursday? Is there a feeling, though, you have to be much better than you were last leg?
100% buoyant atmosphere. So we took on now, yes, relegation threatened Heidenheim, who's got a wonderful story in themselves if you ever kind of look at all of the story behind that tiny little club. But anyways, a 3-0 victory where we really put out our first team in that one. It kind of cemented our position in third place. We still have a lot of matches. We still have 5 matches left to go in the Bundesliga, almost exclusively against the people who are chasing right behind us. So we're kind of in a great position within the Bundesliga, but the confidence reached from that victory against Heidenheim was, hey, you're able to spin off immediately from your, turnaround from playing in Europe to playing at home. You don't have to then go travel. The Eintracht Frankfurt fans are looking at it from the standpoint that, you know what? We got a team that can run out against Tottenham, make some Tottenham will make some tactical tweaks to what they rolled out in leg 1. And I imagine that you're going to see a lot more from the Eintracht midfield, specifically Hugo Larsson, the young Swedish international. The kid's just been an absolute developmental phenomena that, we picked him up from this the 1979 European runner-ups Malmo, for like a couple million euros, and we've given him a chance to develop, and he's really with playing with Shirky, who is a Tunisian international and a pretty good defensive midfielder. The combination play between those guys, I think, is the key element for Eintracht to win or for Spurs to try and exploit, because he's only 20. I think he just turned 21 years old, still has got a youthful exuberance to him. And that, for me, is the kind of key winning point from Eintracht, because if you control the middle of the pitch, we've got some quick runners along the sides that will be able to make some stuff happen. And I'm optimistic, but I also realize that, hey, Eintracht is in a wonderful position, quarterfinals, third place, a whole bunch of positivity around the air. And I'm just happy to be in this position, because 1 decade ago, European dreams were just that, dreams, and now we're making it a reality.
When looking at Spurs coming into the second leg, though, the return of Dejan Kulusevski, who's probably been Spurs' best player this season, Son Heung-min, who's obviously got a great record against German clubs for Tottenham as well. Is there any sort of apprehension saying, Spurs is a serious side on their day and could actually come and do the job in Frankfurt?
I look at Song as the guy of Tottenham to shut down. One, he, from his time playing with Hamburg and then playing with Leverkusen, he hasn't forgotten what it's like to go into the Waldstadion and, deal with that sort of crowd that comes out. And he is, at 32, he still seems to have all of the assets that we saw when he was coming up as a youthful Korean international when he first came to the Bundesliga. For me, he is, if you shut him down, it then will apply the pressure to the other pieces that Tottenham has been, utilizing over the course of the season. And I think if you think of it from the standpoint that if you let everyone out, put the pressure on the other fellas, it really, it's a sink or swim sort of scenario for Tottenham, that if you shut down the major piece, it's like all those players know that their season kind of rides on going through against Eintracht. With the away goals taken away, it's finally poised, and I think it's really a match that I hope that anyone goes into with the mindset of, what, I'm taking this with both hands. And perhaps Spurs have got the players who, took the weekend off. I saw that there was a fair bit of squad rotation from Tottenham against their match with Wolves. And I'm very confident that they have been nonstop working on how to handle the Eintracht counterattack, how to deal with the pressure that's going to be mounted upon them, because this is the way that the season has turned out, that your league form hasn't been what you were expecting, and European glory is the only way to kind of reverse the fortunes of a season that had so many expectations but is currently petering out in the way that it is right now.
Yeah. So on Thursday, obviously, you said we saw quite a passive Frankfurt in that first leg. Are you anticipating a completely different Frankfurt on this Thursday?
I'm expecting gangbusters Eintracht to come out. This is the Frankfurt that, Bayern comes to Frankfurt, and my fellow Bayern friends here in Kansas City, they're like, so how many goals are we gonna see this week? And I'm like, you mean how many goals are we gonna score and you guys are gonna get defeated by? Okay, well, the Waldstadion, the home of Frankfurt, when the fans are just when everything is finally poised, it is just a balancing atmosphere. You saw the traveling contingent. Add that times 4, because you got all those. You got some. Look, it's Frankfurt. It's the financial capital of Central Europe. There's a lot of corporate fans that will be in attendance, but the average person in attendance is going to be there making a lot of racket, and it's going to just boost the players, give that boost that allows them to find that extra gear that when Frankfurt is playing on these European nights, it's not just a special thing to behold from just a TV screen. It's a special thing to behold in person. And for any Spurs fan who is actually making the trip to Frankfurt, I say, enjoy the entire match going experience. Enjoy the fact that you can have a beer and take a cigarette or three or how many of all the various types as you go from the platform walking through the forest to what the Waldstadion translates to English as Forest Stadium, and then go right into the match atmosphere. If you show up a couple hours early, take a look around the museum. It's a wonderful venue to catch a match in a location that's been around now for 100 years. The stadium's been a part of the fabric of Eintracht for 100 years, just like your former home, which is the new home's basically right on site of the old, but it's still, for Frankfurt, the footprint is still there. And not all the German clubs in the Bundesliga and even below have got that sort of history within their ground. So for anyone who's going out there, enjoy yourself. The beer is cheap. The food's pretty good. I wish it was a little better, but there's plenty of vendors who are selling right by the public transport stops so that you can get something, as a memento, or just, hey, I need this food. Otherwise, I've been drinking way too much and it's going to my head. Then I just
Sim's definitely going to be in that camp on Thursday. That's for sure. Brian, I do remember so clearly that walk through the forest, and I was thinking, like, where the hell are they leading us here? Walking through the forest in Frankfurt towards the stadium. There's one player I want to talk to you about who's currently playing for Tottenham, is Mathis Tel, because your manager came out. Yeah, your manager came out a couple of weeks ago and said that Frankfurt did try and sign Mathis Tel in January. He ended up coming to us on a loan. We've got an option to buy. Hasn't really found his feet completely yet, but he has scored in his last 2 Premier League matches. What's your kind of feelings towards Mathis Tel? Are you hoping that maybe Frankfurt can go back in for him in the summer? And do you think he will end up being a success for Tottenham?
Success for Tottenham, I think that you give him a little bit more time with Son, he's going to pan out. Why is he not panning out at Bayern? It's because you're not Harry Kane, you're not Robert Lewandowski. Gonna lie, those are some pretty big, attacking legacies to try and replicate, and he ain't it. So giving him the time and playing with Son, I have no doubts that Tottenham will find themselves a long legacy sort of player. I'm not saying he's going to be the next Paul Gascoigne or something like that, but he's got the assets to be able to develop into a fabulous player for the Spurs. We'll see what he turns out to being, but I think you guys have found a guy who you guys are going to say, 20, 30 years from now, like, how did we get him so cheap? He's going to be a player that he just needs a little bit of love and a little bit of work, and given the opportunities to develop that he was never going to get in Bayern. Guys don't get that unless you are born and raised Bavarian, which is to say the region surrounding Munich. Yeah. You don't really get given a lot of leash to be able to develop as a player for playing for Bayern. It just is one of the things that is biting them in the butt. But I could probably go for about 30 minutes trying to go into depth of why that is with Bayern. But he's a really good player. He never was going to come to Frankfurt, and I've got no problem with that. We spent a little bit of money to pick up Wahi and Batshuayi to kind of provide additional attacking cover. There's some rumors that should Eintracht qualify for the Champions League, that if Wahi and Batshuayi, we'll stick around, but Hugo Ekitike gets sold off, and I don't even want to. He'll be sold for a huge Marmouche level amount of money should he get sold in the summer. But this one talks about Nkunku for Chelsea coming back to Germany, where he found some really, where he had a great time with Leipzig, and I expect that Eintracht will go in that route. I think Tell is a great player, though. You guys just give the boy a chance. And he'll surprise you. He's got the assets there, though.
Yeah, I think I'm just reading there's been a report linking Hugo Ekitike to Spurs this summer, potentially. Apparently, they're going to ask for about 100 million euros. Is any chance you reckon Tottenham could prize him away from you?
Well, you got to win the Europa League to get the Champions League money and then have that big old cash pot to be able to pry him away, I think. I also look at Hugo Ekitike from the standpoint that if Eintracht qualifies for Champions League, whether it be from the league standpoint, like I mentioned, third place, and we have a 3-point cushion between us and fourth place, Leipzig, I believe, is in fourth. I really think Ekitike will stick around because he's going to look, he probably thinks, you know what, I have a shot to make the 2026 World Cup shot of making the France squad, not the starting lineup, but the France squad, if I continue to be in a spot that promotes my talent. And I think that he will stick around in Frankfurt just because he'll see us as, you know what, I basically played alongside Marmoush. I took over that kind of mantle wholeheartedly once Marmoush was sold to Manchester City. I think he would probably stay in Frankfurt for the sheer fact that grass is greener on the other side and you can get paid a lot more. But if you can be the man of your little mountain, why not be the man of your mountain for a little bit longer, especially when, you know, a World Cup roster is dangling right in front of you. Making a move that could go well or could not. There's a little bit more items that are kind of up in the air to be decided. But I think Ekitike, I think he's honestly just going to stick with Frankfurt for one more year. I can be proven wrong, but I think he sees Eintracht as a place that has allowed him to develop. And if he's got the Champions League to play in next season, that's a pretty good reason to stick around in Frankfurt.
Yeah, and that finish for the goal that he scored against us was absolutely sublime. It really was.
Everyone probably saw that and thought to themselves, "Oh, damn, he good."
Yeah, that's pretty much what my reaction was. But I want to talk to you about your old manager, Oliver Glasner, because he's been linked with Spurs. He's been linked with Spurs as well over the past couple of days. Doing a great job at Crystal Palace, won the Europa League with you guys, with Ange Postecoglou's future very much up in the air at the moment. Would you think that would be a good appointment for Tottenham?
I think from an appointment standpoint, yes, he is one that he will make do with limited resources. And all I ever hear from the Spurs fans that I interact with is, we don't really like our chairman. He's a tight-fisted old wanker. And
that's pretty accurate, to be fair.
And I think Glasner is able to make do with less. Look at Elise, who blossomed as a player last season at Crystal Palace. Then he got sold on to Bayern Munich, who has become, honestly, I would say probably the Bayern Munich star of the future. The guy is just able to make magic happen with the squad, and if given a little bit of a leash, can make some great things happen. If nothing else, he will rile up the fans so hard that you may be on a 3-match losing streak, but then Arsenal comes in and you pump them 5-1, which will then make everybody forget all the losses that have recently happened. He's a guy who will galvanize the fans, but if there are some detracting elements to him, he doesn't have that kind of big Ange kind of attitude. But he's a guy who, if you win against in a big match, he will be the one who will do a full front slide in front of the traveling away fans or the home end, just to kind of show how much he cares about the club, as he did when we defeated Barcelona. He did just a full front slide in his coat, and he just endeared himself to the Frankfurt fans, and he would have stayed with Frankfurt if it wasn't that he and the new sporting director didn't see eye to eye, which, you know, that can sometimes happen, but he is a guy who will connect with the fans real quick without having this bigger than life sort of attitude that will either endear fans or rub them the wrong way. So he's a people pleaser, and I should definitely say.
Prediction for Thursday then, Brian? How do you see the game going?
I think Eintracht, especially since we have not picked up any new injuries and Santos is just getting better and better between the sticks. I'm really, really feeling that Eintracht is going to put 2 away in the first half and kind of just see the rest of the match out. And I think Spurs will get one back to give hope. But yeah, I think it's going to end up as a 2-1 victory for Eintracht for the match, and bringing a 3-2 aggregate result. And who knows? I don't know who either of us could possibly face off against, but that's my prediction. And I'm also hoping that Bodo Glimt gives us a little bit of Cinderella story, because if you look outside of our own matchup, that's the best story that's going on in the Europa League. A tiny club from north of the Arctic Circle in the quarterfinals of a European competition. I don't care which one it is. That's something that is quite enjoyable to see. And if we face them, perfect. There's a former Frankfurt player that we'd love to have welcome back to the stadium. He was part of the 22 winning side, and Pierre and Hauge. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to the match on Thursday. But I look at the standpoint that this is a position that Eintracht hasn't been in a hot minute. We're in 3rd place in the league. We're in the quarterfinals of the old UEFA Cup. We're in a great spot, and I'm just enjoying the ride.
All right, Brian. Well, it's time to bring you back down to earth, because I think Tottenham, this means too much for Tottenham's season, because this is it. This is literally it for us. Thursday is do or die for our season. We have to take something. Otherwise, Ange is going to get sacked. Our season's dead. So literally, we have so much riding on this 90 minutes on Thursday. I've got a feeling that this game is going to go all the way. Extra time, penalties, and I think it's going to be a really nervy night out in Frankfurt. I don't know who's going to take the win, but I just do know that I think both teams, I think they're quite equally matched, to be fair, judging after the first leg. But
extra time just means extra time to go grab a 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th beer, come right back in there with all your friends. And hey, you know what? You can buy multiples at a time.
Oh,
just remember that.
Didn't have to tell me that, Brian. Not going to remember the game now.
Don't they do those cups where you can get like 2 or 3 pints in one cup or something?
Oh, yeah, they totally got that. And you know what? You can even take your beer out into the inner concourse and just quaff it down right there and then go right back in. They're like, hey, you know what? And if you suddenly have the urge to go pee and you've already quaffed it all, well, you know what? You got a cup right there to take care of it, so you don't miss a minute of the match.
Brilliant, Brian. Thank you so much for coming on today. Go and check out the Hey Eintracht Frankfurt podcast. And Brian, I'm not going to wish you luck for Thursday, but thank you very much for coming on.
No problem, guys. It was fun to kick the ball around with you.
Absolutely.
Cheers,
Big up
Brian.
to you, Brian. See you later.